When the Indian Child Welfare Act originated at the request of the Spirit Lake, then Devil's Lake Reservation, the motivation that was cited was to protect children from improper placement in non-Indian foster homes by local public authorities. Unfortunately, that was solving a problem that had existed a generation earlier and was already fading from view in the 1970s and was no longer truly the problem. The main problem facing Indian children and Indian families was trying to find suitable family situations for children who were too often abandoned or too often abused. And the law completely neglected and overlooked that dimension of the problem, which means that not only has it not obtained its objectives, it's actually made the situation worse. It's often compelled children to be placed in dangerous situations in which children have been greatly harmed. We see this today, of course, at Spirit Lake. We have had children placed in homes where predictable deaths have followed. The White Shield case is just one of many of those. We could name others also.
Hope had taken the kids and threw them down an embankment. Both kids got thrown down the rock embankment. After Hope pushed them both down the embankment, the older kids were told not to say a word and she was going to be fine. She just bumped her head. And they took them back to the house, and Lauren never regained consciousness. She bathed them, both girls, and Lauren was still unconscious at this point. Bathed them, put them into bed together, and the next morning, Michaela woke up, but Lauren obviously didn't. When they interviewed Hope, Hope just said it was too much for her. She couldn't handle them and she needed a break.
We have essentially abandoned Indian children to fairly fast and loose procedures on tribes and at the hands of tribal courts, which are not interested in responding to the question, what is the best interest of the child, but is rather interested in responding to the question, what is the best interest of the tribe? What is at stake here is the identification of the tribe as a cultural entity deserving to be preserved at all costs, and therefore by accepting out the ordinary protections of law and constitutional rights for American citizens. The Indian child is therefore a pawn in terms of maintaining the enrollment numbers of the Indian tribe and maintaining what becomes ultimately a facade of culture rather than a reality of culture.
I believe in ICWA. I believe that any child that is Native should have the opportunity to know his or her culture. I'm aware of how our own people abuse ICWA. We all need to be held accountable for what we do. The community centers to make the children aware of the sex offenders that live within our reservation. It has all our sex offenders, what level they're at, and then their picture. We have an extravagant amount of sex offenders living within our reservation. There was anger that people like me spoke out. We were liars. We were condemned as we didn't have any allegiance to our reservation because of what we had done. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make it better. This is my home, but not everybody feels the way I do.
They often use the words, our children are sacred and we need to protect them, but I don't see it happening. They're sacred. If they were sacred, like the powers that want to have the recognition, they wouldn't be put in homes of abusers. They wouldn't be taken from a nurturing foster home just because they're non-native and brought back into this cesspool of alcohol and abuse. I'm not sure why they're placing them in homes of perpetrators, but they will not speak up because they know that it means their death sentence. There's nothing true about sovereignty here. I mean, if it were truly sovereign, we would be doing a lot of our cultural activities. We would be practicing child care, lack of violence towards adults as well as children. We would be doing that if we truly were a sovereign nation. We're not. We're hiding behind the word in order to keep the power.
So when we now, a generation later, find that we are routinely placing children in homes in which there are violent sex offenders, in homes in which the drug abuse is rampant, in which neglect is more of the commonly the occurrence than otherwise, it is certainly to be remarked as ironic is almost too soft a term to use, tragic that we allowed such rationales to produce the situation that we face today.
We first filed the application through the tribe to adopt Lauren. The ICWA representative for that tribe asked if we could adopt her. She was impressed with everything we had, our credentials, our background, our dedication to our community and to kids.
You know, I was there just like her birth mom, and I fed her in the middle of the night. So it's immediate. It's immediate. You know, she was our child by then.
The tribe changed their mind and decided that they wanted to fight this process, that they weren't going to approve of the birth mother's choice, and felt that they should have first right of refusal on the child. Now, for months and months previous to the birth of the child, the tribe had never presented a potential family for the birth mother to choose. They didn't have one. Nobody wanted the child. What puzzled me about the ICWA law itself and the concept around ICWA was that in the case that you have a healthy birth mother who is making a choice to where she feels is best for her child, that somebody can interfere with that and say, we're sorry, you're wrong. And we're gonna take it no matter what you want done, regardless of what you feel is best for your child. It seems insane on the surface, it really does.
For me, I would lay in bed at night and, you know, everything's going through your mind. You know, we have a court case coming up, or we have a visit from a social worker. Is it gonna go our way? And I pray, God, do not give me anything more than I can't handle, which would mean her being taken from us.
The tribe had a casino, and they had unlimited funds at their disposal. For us as a family, I think the total bill in the end of it, about $300,000 at a time when the market was crashing. It ran us into bankruptcy. There's no way around it. They brought in psychologists from both sides that had done assessments of the child. Both psychologists said, this will be detrimental to this child to pull this child out of this family 3 years later. But in the end, the tribe said, we're done, let's settle.
I knew that here she would have lots of opportunities. I didn't know if she was taken away, what her opportunities and what her life was going to be like. So that was scary for me because I'm her mom at that point. And so the unknown for her if she were taken away is just, you know, she's in a good place. I think it needs to be dealt with on an individual basis, and best interest of the child every single time needs to be, where is that child going to be taken care of the most? And that's first and foremost every single time.
As children requiring protection, they're being looked at as pawns in the interest of preserving and protecting tribal status, so that we don't find any usual recourse to judgments about the conduct, the habits, and the attitudes of the homes into which children are placed, since the only thing we're initially concerned with is to identify an Indian family, even if the connection is remote. The individual really has no say on this at all.